check out this video. I generated this entire video in about 6 minutes using this automation I built inside of n8n. This workflow will generate these high quality niche AI videos completely automated, powered by this Airtable base to generate all the prompts, all the scenes, all the clips, and finally put together finished videos. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build this automation from scratch, building out the n8n workflow and the Airtable base. And you don't need any experience with these tools to be able to follow along. This is, however, a very complicated build. I will be going over everything step by step so that anyone can follow along whether you have skills working with these tools or not. But as you can see, it's a pretty long video to get through. So if you want to skip the entire automation build and just download these templates so you can use this tool, I have the link in the description of this video to join my school community called Digital Automation Diagram. Once you join the community, you'll have access to all of my automation templates to download for free and all of my resources, tons of AI prompts to build anything you want with AI, and you'll have access to download the templates for this entire automation. I also include the instructions on how to set it up if you want to download the templates and get started with this one right away. Otherwise, get ready and we'll dive into this build. All right, let's get right into it. I'm in my Airtable dashboard. I have the link in the description of this video. You can sign up for Airtable, create your account. I'm going to come up here to create a new base. Click on Start from Scratch, and we can close down some of the default stuff that pops up here right away. I'm going to close down the Getting Started section. These 3 default fields will pop up here. I'm going to click on each of these fields, holding Shift on the keyboard. Right-click on one of the fields and click on Delete 3 fields. That'll just start us off with a fresh table. We have our primary field here. I'm going to come up to name this base. Niche video generator. Step by step, you can name your base whatever you want. I'm going to double-click on the table name. We're going to set up our first working table here. Double-click on the table name to rename it. This is Video Project Table. Name it Video Project. Click Save. And for the first grid view here, I'll double-click that. Name it All Data. For the primary field name, double-click that. Rename it Project Name and click Save. We got these 3 default records popping in here. I'll click on the little check boxes to select these 2 records. Right-click on one of them and click on Delete Selected Projects. All right, stick with me. We're going to be creating a bunch of new fields in here by clicking this plus button. I'll click the plus to create a new field. Name it Video Orientation. This will be a single select field. Click on that. For the options, click Add Option. Type in Portrait. You can hit Enter or click on Add Option. This will be Landscape. And the third one, Square. You can change the color of these selections. I'll click the little bubble and just change these colors. For the default, drop this down. I'll choose Portrait and click Create Field. Click the plus to create the next field. We're going to create a bunch of formula fields. Scroll down and find the formula field type. This first one we'll name Width. And in the formula box here, you can copy what I have here. This will set the width of our image based on the video orientation. Click Create Field. Just to test that out, I'll select an orientation from the dropdown, select Portrait, and we can see our width pop up in here like that. For the next field, I'll duplicate the width field, right-click on width, choose Duplicate Field, and we'll double-click into this new field to edit it. For this formula here, we can switch around these numbers. So 1080 for the landscape and 920 for the portrait. Square, we can leave the same. Come up to name it. Height, click Save, and we can see that pop in there just like that. One more time, duplicate this field. Right click on it, click Duplicate, double click on the field name to edit it. For portrait, we'll say 9:16. This is the aspect ratio. For landscape, type in 16:9, and for square, it's 1:1 for that aspect ratio. Come up to name it, aspect ratio, click save, and we've got our 9:16 aspect ratio for portrait orientation. Now we're going to need to add a bunch of linked records from other tables that we'll be creating. For now, the next field we can start with, click the plus, name this start. This will be a checkbox. I like to choose this little thumbs up for the style. Click create field. Just for record keeping, let's click the plus. Scroll down, choose created time, click create field, click the plus to create a new field, scroll down, find last modified time, click create field, click the plus to create a new field. Let's call this reference images. This will be an attachment field, click create field. Click the plus to create a new field. This is for testing and record keeping. We'll name this record ID. This will be another formula field. In the formula box, type in REC. This is a built-in function to get the record ID of this entire record. So use this built-in function, click on that, finish it off by typing in the closing parenthesis on the keyboard, click create field. Great, so that's as much as we can get in here with what we have. We're gonna have to create some new tables and link up some records to finish off this table later on. So let's hop over to the next table we need. I'm gonna click this plus to create a new table. Click start from scratch. Name this generation. This is where all of the image generation, video generation will take place. Click save. Same thing here. I like to start with a clean slate, so I'll just select these 3 fields and delete them just to wrap my mind around what exactly needs to go in here without having to figure out, okay, this one can be edited, this one I don't need. For this table as well, I'll delete out these first 2 default records, number 2 and number 3. Double click to rename the grid view all data. Let's click the plus to create a new field. Call this AI image prompt. So be a long text field. Select that. Click create field. Click the plus to create a new field. This will be an attachment field. We'll name it image. Click create field. Same thing here. We'll have to link some other records from some other tables we'll be creating. But for now, we can add in the generation actions. Name this field generation actions. This will be a single select for the options. Click on add option. Type in choose action for the next option, generate image. For the next option, generate video. I'll change the color, just setting that up to give something visually distinctive in these sort of buttons we're making. For the default, set this to choose action and create field. Click the plus to create a new field. Call this video. This will be an attachment field, create field. I'm just going to slide the generation actions down here after the image prompt and before the image. Start organizing right away, keeping all these fields organized and in a chronological or operational order that we're going to get things done here. We'll have the image prompt. We'll generate the images, get the image, then we'll generate the video, get the video like that. For record keeping, let's create a new field. Scroll down, find created time, create the field. Click the plus to create a new field. Scroll down, find last modified time, create the field. Click the plus to create a new field. Call this record ID. Scroll down, this will be a formula field. In the formula box, type in REC, find that built-in record ID formula, finish it off with the closing parenthesis, click create field. So we're going to add some linked records in here to the video project table. But before I do that, I'm going to slide this record ID field. You can click and drag these fields around, click it and drag it to the front here, drop it down. You'll see a little blue line appear, drop it down in the very front, and that'll change our primary field to the record ID field. Go ahead and say change primary field. For the name field, we can actually delete this out. I'll right click on this field and come down to the bottom and say delete field. Great, so let's add in our linked records. We're gonna link to the video project table. So I'm gonna click the plus to create a new field. This will be a link to another record. We wanna link to the video project table. Toggle off, allow linking to multiple records. Click create field. Now we can look up our fields from the video project table. So I'm going to look up the width, height, aspect ratio, and the record ID. Click add for fields. And now we've got our linked record here, our video project. This is the record linking to our actual video project table, and it'll link up in this primary field to the project name. So just to test that out, we have something of a demo project already started up in here with video orientation set to portrait. Let's just name this first project first test, just so we can see this stuff coming across. I'm going to jump back into the generation table, and now in this video project field, I can click into it, click the plus, and find our first test video project. If I select that, we'll get those attributes. We've got the width, the height, and the aspect ratio, as well as the record ID from the video project table, right? So that's not to be confused with our record ID from the generation table. This is the record ID from the video project table, right? So we've got these 5 new fields here. Just gonna expand out these field names so we can see all the text. These are going to be for backend automation. We're not going to have to visually see these. We need to just link everything up so that everything works and runs smoothly together. So that's about all we can do in the generation table for now. Let's go ahead and create our next table. Come up here, click the plus, create a new table, select start from scratch, call this assembly, click save, delete out these 3 default fields. I'll name this grid view all data. And right away, let's clean up our primary field. I think I want to go with the same approach here. Let's click the plus to create a new field. Call this record ID. This will be a formula field. Select formula. In the formula box here, type in REC. Select this built-in record ID function. Close it off with the closing parenthesis and create the field. I'm going to click and drag this record ID field up front, set it as the primary field, and delete this name field. Right click on it, say delete field. Now we've got our actual record ID as an ID for the project in the assembly table. Again, don't have to know what all that means yet. You'll see how everything gets linked up once it's all finished. But here I'm going to click on these records and delete them. Right click on them, delete all selected records. Okay, now just a little bit of cleanup. This is going to get very massive very quickly. So I'm going to come into the generation table and find the video field we created. I'm going to double click on this video field and name this video clips. That way we know these are actually just individual scenes, individual clips for the entire video to be put together. I'm going to come back into the assembly table and we can create some linked records in here. I'm going to click the plus to create a new field. So it'll be a link to another record. Let's link to the video project table. Toggle off, allow linking to multiple records. Create the field. We can look up some of these fields from the video project table. Here again, we want width, height, aspect ratio, and record ID. Click add for field. Now we've got our 5 new fields from the video project table, the video project link, and those 4 lookup fields right here. So same thing, I can click into this drop down and find my first test video project. Let's link that up, and those attributes are coming over in the appropriate fields. We actually need to add another lookup in here just to make sure all of these videos are aggregating and collecting the correct way for these operations to work. We're going to add a field in the video project table. I'll jump over there, scroll down to find the generation linked record, right click on that, click on add lookup fields, and we're going to look up the video clips from the generation table. Choose that, click add one field. Now we've got our video clips from the generation table in our video project table. Let's jump over to the assembly table. Going to right click on this video project linked record field, click on add lookup fields, and we can look up our new field that is now in this table. Let's scroll down. There's our video clips from the generation table. Click add one field. I will expand out this field name so we can see it. We've got the video clips from the generation table that are linked to the video project table and getting them here from the video project table. Again, this is very complex automation. Linking records is the real magic of Airtable, so this might take some time to wrap your mind around, but as long as you're following along, this will work beautifully. So we've got our video clips from the generation table linked to the video project table and now into our assembly table. Great. I'm going to click the plus to create a new field. Call this music. This will be an attachment field. Create the field. Click the plus to create a new field. Call this assemble. This will be a checkbox. I like to use the little thumbs up. Create the field. Call this finished video. This will be an attachment field and create the field. Great. So that's all we can do in the assembly table. Let's jump over, create a new table, click the plus, say start from scratch, name this prompt writers. This is where we can store all of the assistant prompts that will generate all of the image prompts, all of that stuff for this entire automation to run. So we're going to add in this database our list of writers, which is basically a list of AI assistants with specific tasks in how they write out different prompts. Okay, I'm going to delete these 3 default fields, select them all, click delete 3 fields, rename the grid view all data, and rename this primary field assistant, and delete out these 2 default records. Let's click the plus to create a new field. This will be a long text. You can name this assistant instructions, create the field. Click the plus to create a new field. Name this record ID. This will be a formula field. Type in REC, find the record ID function, close it off with the closing parenthesis, and create the field. I'm just going to expand out this field here so we can see more of the text that will come in here. That's all we need for the prompt writers table. Let's click the plus to create a new table. Say start from scratch. Name it prompt presets. So this will be a database of all of our presets for our image prompts, for stylization, and video prompts for prompting the video generation. I'm going to delete these 3 default fields, rename the primary field to preset name, save it, and the grid view to all data. Click the plus to create a new field, name it type. This will be single select. For the options, click add an option, type in image, then add an option and type in video. You can change the colors, create the field, click the plus to create a new field, name it prompt. This will be a long text and create the field. I'll just expand out this field name so we can see the text. For this first preset, I always like to have a realistic setting. So I'll name this preset photograph. For the type, this will be an image type preset. For the prompt, you can type in whatever you want for a realistic photographic style, or you can come up with your own style and type that prompt in here. This will be a prompt that is actually for the AI image generation. So whatever kind of stylization prompts, like make an anime scene of, or make a realistic scene of, stuff like that. So what I'm going to have in here for this prompt is this right here: create a DSLR camera quality, ultra realistic, highly detailed photograph of, and this will just be our prompt preset, our stylization preset for our entire prompt, right? So I'm going to stick with that one, but let's add in a video prompt. I'll name this preset simple animation, drop this down, set it to video just to make sure I know which is which. These are like labels so we can keep track of which preset is doing what or should be doing what. I'll type in my prompt here: create subtle animation in the scene, no large or wild movements. Great, so that's all we need for testing this out. Let's keep moving on. Let's create a new table. Click the plus to create a new table. Start from scratch. By the way, you can load this up right now with all kinds of styles, anything you're thinking about, getting creative. Load this up with all of your styles and you can choose whatever you want as we're testing and building this out. So for the new table, I'm going to name this table System Automation to be more of the back end stuff going on, making sure this automation is working and running. Click save, delete out the 3 default fields, rename the grid view, all data. To delete out this 3rd record, we don't need this one, but I'll keep in these 2. We're going to set these up. For the first system instructions, it'll just be named system. Let's click the plus to create a new field. This will be a long text field and we'll name it system instructions. Create the field. Just expand out this field. We can see more of the text. And I like to label all of my backend stuff just in case I forget what's going on. I can keep track of stuff that way. So in this step, I'll click the plus to create a new field, name it label. This will be single select. And the first option will be system. The next option will be JSON bot. I'll change the colors, create the field. Can label this one system, can label this one JSON bot. In fact, let's go ahead and just name this one JSON bot. Let's click the plus to create a new field, name it record ID. This will be a formula field. Type in REC, find the built-in function, finish it off, create the field. All right, for these 2 system instructions, we're going to jump over to my school community to copy and paste. I'm going to grab them from there, but you don't necessarily need to jump over there to get them yourself. I'll paste them in here so you can see the entire prompt for this system. Okay, I jumped over to my school community. It's called Digital Automation Diagram. I'm in the classroom section, so I'll just scroll down to the automation we need. This is the course module for the niche AI video generator. So I'm going to click into here. Here, if you wanted to download the templates, everything is available for you. If you join this community, you have access to all of this stuff right away. And you can see the setup instructions for downloading the templates and getting this running right away. What we're going to use is the AI prompts here. So I'm going to click on the system instructions and just copy this prompt. Let's jump back into Airtable and I'll paste this prompt right in here. Double click into that field, paste it. Same thing for the JSON bot. Let's jump back over there. I'm gonna grab the JSON bot instructions, copy this entire thing, jump back into Airtable and paste that in right here. Double click into it, hit paste. So these are the two prompts we need for the backend system instructions. We're going to have to link another field over here. So first of all, let's jump back into school. I'll pause here for a second just so you can copy this prompt. Go ahead, copy that, paste it into Airtable. You can pause the video if you need, and we'll grab the JSON bot instructions. Take a look at that. You can pause the video, take a screenshot, throw that screenshot into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to write out the text for you. So let's jump back into Airtable. This is all we can do for now. We need to link up the prohibited language list. So let's create that list. I'm gonna click the plus to create a new table. Say start from scratch, name it prohibited language list. Click save. I'll delete out these three fields, and we've got this name field. So I'm going to jump back into school, find the prohibited language list, and copy this entire list. Jump back into Airtable. Now this list, you can just fill this out with anything you don't want your particular AI to sound like or to write. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste in my list, and you can see these are just words that you want your AI writer to avoid. This is something I've just put together so you can come up with your own language list specific to your niche or specific to the type of writing that you want your AI to do. We've got our prohibited language list here. So I'm going to jump back into system automation, and we're going to link up this prohibited language list to the system automation here. So I'm going to click the plus in the system automation to create a new field, choose link to another record. We want to link to the prohibited language list. I will leave on allow linking to multiple records. We're going to link to multiple words in this list. Click create field. Now for the lookup, I'll add the name, click add one field. Now we've got these two fields, the linked record and the lookup. Now what happens here is if I choose a record, I'll click into here, choose any of these items, just say additionally, we can see that name popping up in here as well. This is what we're going to need for the automation. This is how we're going to link the words to this actual system instructions. So the way that we need to start off linking these words to the system instructions, the entire list, be pretty difficult to go in here and select each word every single time we run the automation. Luckily, we can build an automation for that. But the first thing we need to do to start linking everything up, I'm going to jump back into the prohibited language list. We see that we have this new field automatically created. This is our link to the system automation table. To initially link every single one of these words to the system instructions, I'm just going to click and drag this little toggle handle down to populate every cell all the way down to the bottom of this list. And that'll link in the system instructions to each word. Now, if we go back just to see what's going on, system automation, we can see all of these words are in here in one giant list. Now, again, if we need to update this list, we'll build in an automation to automatically do that. But for now, everything is linked up and ready to go. I think that's all we need in terms of our tables. I'm going to jump back into the video project table. We can go ahead and link the system automation, the prompt presets, all of this stuff into our video project table. Okay, we're going to need to add a link to the prompt writers table. Let's jump back in there and we can create a prompt writer. Again, these are actual AI assistants that we'll be utilizing to do the writing for us in this automation. So you can craft a very intelligent prompt here. This will be your actual AI assistant prompt. So what I'm going to do, I'll name this first assistant. I always like to have just a generic one, maybe for testing or whatever. I come up with a generic writer that can do a little bit of everything, but I also then come up with multiple writers for very specific niches. When I'm creating content for a particular niche, I like to have an AI writer that focuses on that particular niche and writes for that exact niche. But for now, I'm going to stick with my generic theme writer. So I'll name this one generic theme, and I'm going to go grab the prompt from school. I'm going to hop over there. I'm in the classroom. I'll come into the vault and we'll find the AI assistant prompts. And there it is right there, generic theme prompt writer. Cool. So I'm going to copy this entire prompt, jump back into Airtable and paste it right here. So now we have this entire AI assistant prompt that will create new prompts for image generation. Now, if you're following along from YouTube, I have all of these prompts linked in the description of this video. You can check out that document to get these prompts. You can copy and paste them into your project if you're building this from scratch with me. Otherwise, if you want to challenge yourself and you're into prompt engineering, you can come up with an AI assistant here. The goal of this AI assistant is to output image generation text prompts. So you can put in a generic theme, say pirates, and this prompt will spit out text prompts that will create scenes centered around pirates, right? So that is the goal here. If you want to test your skills with prompt engineering, craft yourself an AI assistant prompt that will spit out text prompts for image generation. Otherwise, take a look at my document. You can copy and paste this exact prompt into your project. Great. So I think we have everything we need to link up all of these tables to the video project table. I'm going to jump back over there. I'm going to slide all the way down and click the plus to create a new field. This will be a link to another record. And we're going to link to the prompt writers table, toggle off, linking to multiple records, create the field. Now what we need is the assistant instructions. This is the prompt, the assistant prompt that we'll use in this automation. Click add one field. Now this is going to be an interactable field. We'll be able to select which writer we want to use for every single project that we're creating. So I'm going to rename this field, choose prompt writer, just to give the user a little more direction on what we need to do here. I'll expand out this field so we can see it. And for the assistant instructions from prompt writers, double click this one to rename it prompt writer assistant instructions, just to make sure we know what is what. Click save. Now I can drop this down and link up my new prompt writer, the generic theme writer, into the video project table, and we'll get that assistant prompt just like that from the prompt writers table. Great. We're going to do that same thing with the prompt preset table. I'll click the plus, link to another record. This will be the prompt presets. Toggle off, allow linking to multiple records, create the field, and we want the prompt. Cool. So we've got these two new fields. Same thing. I want to give us some context here of what this field is actually doing for us in the automation. So I'm going to rename it, choose image style preset, click save, and we've got that prompt from prompt presets. Now if I click in here and just select one of those presets, we'll choose the photograph image style. We can see that prompt preset pop up in there just like that. Now I'm going to do that same thing again for the system automation. Click the plus to create a new field. This will be a link to another record. We want to link to the system automation. Toggle off, allow linking to multiple records. Now right away, we'll just name this one, name it system, create the field. We want to add a lookup to this system instructions as well as the name from prohibited language list. Add to field. Slide down a little bit. By the way, if you want to scroll left to right, you can hold shift on your keyboard and scroll the mouse wheel to scroll left to right in your base. So now we have the system link right here, which is the system automation table. And we've got the system instructions from system and the name from prohibited language list. I'll expand this out from system. So we've got the prohibited language list linked into the system automation, and we're getting everything linked into the video project table. So same thing, if I drop this down, click into here, I can select the system, get the system instructions. Now, if we take a look at what is actually happening now, we've got everything linked up and reading correctly in real English now. So this prompt will read, I'll expand this out. Do not use AI sounding words, right if as a human is speaking, and do not use the words and phrases in this list. Immediately after that prompt comes all of the words in our list. So that is reading like real English now as a prompt to send off as system instructions to our AI assistants. I think I want to add that label back in here though as well. So I'm going to right click on the system linked field, click on add lookup fields, and let's add our label in here. Click add one field. Now we've got our system label in the system field. Great. So this coming from the system automation, we're going to do this exact same thing another time, but we're going to link up JSON bot. So let's come over, click the plus to create a new field, be a link to another record. We want to link to the system automation. Right away, we'll just name this JSON bot, toggle off, allow linking to multiple records, create the field. Let's look up the system instructions and the label. We don't need the prohibited language list again. Click add to fields. We'll slide down and link up JSON bot. I'll click in here, choose JSON bot, You can see our system instructions for JSON bot and our label for JSON bot. Now, the reason I put these labels in here again, just to keep things organized, you can tell we already have tons of data in a single record. So if I need to work on any system instructions or JSON bot instructions, just having that label, having that colored representation there for me to see, okay, these are the things as I'm scrolling by really quickly and looking for all this stuff going on. That's why I put the labels in there. It's just a graphical thing for me to find these records. Cool. So that looks pretty good. I think we have everything we need for the system instructions. Now I'm going to slide down just to keep things a little more organized. I'm going to slide back down to the beginning over here, and let's add an input field right here after aspect ratio before start. I'm going to right click on aspect ratio and say insert right. Let's name this input text prompt here. So giving us context on how to interact with this table as an actual tool. As I mentioned, there's tons of data in here. We're going to create a new view that cleans up all of this data and gets everything looking nicer so that we can actually see what we're looking at and make sense of how to use it much more easily. So this is called input text prompt here. It's going to be a long text field. Create the field. Great. So to finish this off, I think we just need to add one more lookup here, and let's scroll around until we find the assembly table linked record field. That's this one right here. So all of these icons represent what type of field this is, and I can just at a glance see this is our linked record field right here. These little magnifying glass ones are the lookup fields. So I know this is a linked record field, this is a lookup field, and this is a linked record field. So I'm looking at our assembly linked record field. Just a quick note on how I'm at a glance seeing what's what with all this information. I'm going to right click on our assembly linked record field, click on add lookup field. Now we just need to look up the finished video and get that into our video project. Click on add one field, right click on it, say edit field, and rename it simply finished video. Click save. Yeah, I think that is it. We'll come back and add any new fields that we missed once we get to those portions, but I think we're good to go for now. So what I'm going to do now is just clean up a view that we can use. In our video projects table, I'm going to add a new view here. Click the plus to create a new grid view. I'll name this grid view reference images. Click create new view. Now I can slide this view up above all data. There's 6 little dots right here. You can grab that view, slide it up. This is an exact copy of the all data view. So what we're going to do inside of this view is just hide fields to make all of this information much more readable and accessible so we can use this table as a tool and not get lost in all of this information. So in this view, I'm going to come up to the hide fields button. You can follow along with me. We're just going to hide some fields that aren't necessary to see as we're creating videos, but we'll have in there for the actual automation. So I'm going to toggle off these buttons here to hide these views. Width, height, aspect ratio, created, last modified. This is our reference images workflow, so we'll leave reference images. I'll leave the record ID for testing. Let's toggle off generation, video clips, assembly, prompt writer, assistant instructions, prompt, system, label from system, system instructions, name from prohibited language list, JSON bot, system instructions, and label. Cool. So now if we take a look at our actual table, I'll just scroll down. We see we have much fewer fields to work with, much easier to see and figure out what we got going on here. So let's rearrange these fields into a sort of operational order here. So first, we're going to enter in a project name, then we'll choose a video orientation, then we'll input our text prompt. We do need our reference images. However, this field for the reference images workflow is not going to use the text prompt. It's going to use the reference images. So we can actually hide this input text prompt field as well. I'll come into the hidden fields button and hide input text prompt here. So I'll add my reference images. Just click and drag this field in between start and video orientation. I'll slide the choose prompt writer field down here as well for start. I'll slide the choose image style field before start. We want to make sure we have all these settings in here before starting off the automation. And then the record ID, we'll keep this in here just for testing to make sure everything is working smooth. I can go at the end, and then our finished video will pop into this field right here. I'm just going to resize some of these field names, condense everything up, make it look nice. And there we go. This is much easier to see, much easier to work with as we're creating content, we don't need to wade through all of that data that is used in the automation and in the back end, making things work. We just need to run the actual workflow. So now we can throw in a project name, choose video orientation, drop our reference images. Now, again, just to remind myself, we're not going to need a prompt writer for the reference images workflow. I'm going to click on the hidden fields button and hide the prompt writer. Great. So even more condensed, much nicer to see. Let's do that same thing for another view just to run and test the other workflow for the text prompts, right? So I'm just going to duplicate this reference images view. I'll right click on it to duplicate view, and we've got a copy of this view, just all of that stuff hidden away that we already have hidden. So I'm going to rename this view, double click on it. This will be our text prompts workflow. Cool. I'm going to come into the hidden fields button. We can hide the reference images field. We're not going to use that workflow anymore. I'll toggle on the choose prompt writer, input text prompt here. And I think that is all we need there. Great. So now in this particular workflow, we can choose a project name, a video orientation, choose a prompt writer, set the image style, input our prompt, and then start the automation. Cool. Now, all of those other fields are just hidden. They actually exist in these views. They're just hidden away so we don't see them. That's why I like to create this all data view so we can just click there and see everything at a glance without having to go hide and show fields when we're testing and working on different stuff. We can just tab down into the all data view and see everything in the back end that's going on in the automation. We'll jump into n8n and start actually creating this automation workflow for creating videos with text prompts in n8n. To trigger everything in n8n, we're going to need to add one Airtable automation to start off with. So let's come up to automations, and this is where we can build all of the automations in the backend for Airtable. We'll be running Airtable automations and the n8n automations. So let's add our trigger here. Click add trigger when record matches conditions. We'll name this automation generate prompts n8n. Let's add some conditions over here. We'll select the table, video project table. Let's add a condition where the start checkbox is checked. Very simple condition to trigger this automation run. Let's add some logic in here. Click this drop down. We want to run a script. Now for this script, it's very simple. This is basically going to trigger a webhook and send some information with that webhook. So I'm going to jump into the school community. I'm in digital automation diagram in the classroom and in the vault section here. I have a references section. I'm filling out with tons of information like this, but we want this one. Airtable run a script action for webhook. I'll just copy this script, jump back into Airtable and paste that script right there. Now you can just copy and paste what I have here. Pause the video if you need to. Now we're going to add in these variables. So come over here, click on add input variable. For the first one, I'll just copy this webhook URL variable name, everything underlined with red squigglies. I'll click add input variable. Let's grab the record ID variable name. Now for the value for this one, we can click the blue plus, drop this down, and we want to select Airtable record ID. Click add input variable, copy the last variable name, action, and for this one, we'll type in a variable. Type in generate prompts. Now this is just a variable name. You can put in anything you want right here, but as we run down the chains, this variable has to be spelled correctly, just like it would be if you were coding. So this is standard coding practices for naming variables, keeping the capitalization and spacing just like that. So now we need the webhook value. Let's jump into n8n. Here I am in my n8n dashboard. I'm going to create a new workflow. Now before I name everything and get all of this set up, I just want to get that webhook straight away. So I'm going to click the plus to create my first node. We'll dive into n8n in a minute, but after you click the plus, you can search nodes here. What we want is on webhook call. Click on that. And we have the webhook options right here for the test URL. Let's copy this webhook. Just click on it to copy it. I'll come back into Airtable and we can paste that webhook in the value right here. Now we can finish off the script. Click on finish editing and toggle on the automation. Now if I come back into data, we can now hit this start button. That automation will trigger when start is checked and send that webhook. That webhook will trigger our n8n workflow. So we'll dive into n8n in the next section. All right, so we're going to start off in n8n. If you haven't gotten to this point, we need to start a new workflow and create the webhook trigger. If you need to find this this webhook trigger. You can click the big plus in the canvas space and find on webhook call right here. This test URL, I'll copy this, click on it to copy it. This is what we need in Airtable to actually trigger this webhook. So I'm going to come back into Airtable, come into the automations, check my first automation here, click on the run a script action and find my webhook URL right here. Just to double check, I'll paste in that webhook into this URL section and update my script. If you're following along, you've probably done this already. I'm recording this in parts, so I'm just re-emphasizing what we did in part 1 of this video. So we've got our n8n webhook in this Airtable field. I'm going to jump back into n8n. That is our test URL for this webhook. So I'm going to click on listen for test event. The webhook will listen for that signal from us coming from Airtable. I'm going to jump back into Airtable. The way we set up the automation is that when we click start, this will kick off the entire workflow. So I'm going to check start. Let's jump back over to n8n and we get that data coming through. The webhook has successfully been triggered. I'm going to switch over to the schema view. We can see all of these elements coming over from the webhook. What we need are those properties we created inside of that script. We have the record ID and the action variable that we set, generate prompts. I'm going to click outside of this node or click back to canvas. You can see the webhook has turned green. We've got one item, one bundle of data coming through. I'm just going to slide over, come up here, rename my workflow niche AI video generator demo. So let's create the next node. I'm going to click the plus. Anytime you need to find a node in n8n, you can browse for it here or type into the search bar. The node we want is the switch node. I'll type in switch, find the switch node. And this switch node is going to act as our router to run down different automation chains for these different actions we need to perform with this workflow. So the first action we need to perform is generate prompts. I'm going to come down here and find our action. This is all of the data coming through from the webhook. I'm going to click and drag the action schema here into the first value. We get the JSON value coming through, and I'll type in this value right here. So I can come down here, copy this exactly. This has to be your exact variable, generate prompts. What we're saying here is action equal to generate prompts. And if it is, we'll run down this automation chain. Toggle on rename output. We can name this generate prompts and click on test step. This will bring all the information through the router. Let's click outside of the node and you can click and drag around the nodes to organize. I've got this first route named generate prompts right here. You can see that label we created. Let's click the plus to create the next node. Search for table. On the Airtable node, we want to get a record. Now here, you'll need to create your credential with Airtable. I have the tutorial on setting up this connection inside of Airtable, creating your personal access token. Or if you want to join my school community, I've got all kinds of supplementary tutorials and resources you can check out over there. If I jump into my digital automation diagram classroom here, we can come into these supplementary tutorials and we've got all of these little extra things like setting up the Airtable access token. So the one we want right here is number 14, create Airtable access token in n8n. Once you have your credentials set up, we can move on down, choose the base you set up on that personal access token, drop this down and find your new base. We can choose the table from the list. We want our video project table and we can grab the record ID. In the input schema view over here, we have our switch node. We can scroll down and grab the record ID from the switch node coming through, or we can find our webhook node, scroll all the way down and get the record ID coming straight from the webhook. I'm going to go ahead and grab it from the webhook, drop it down right there, click test step. This is the actual record from Airtable coming through. We've got all of those fields we set up, all the information. Here's every word from the prohibited language list, all the system instructions, and so on. I'm going to click outside of the node. I'm going to come up to save the workflow, click the plus to create a new node. Now this will be another switch node. This router will take us down either the text prompt workflow or the reference photo workflow. So I'm going to search for the switch node, plug that in there. Now, same thing here. We're going to link up some of the information coming through from the input, but we haven't brought in the correct info. So you can just type in or copy and paste what I have here. For value number 1. You can click into this first field, set it to an expression, click on this little expand button. That'll just blow up this window. We can see the expression, and you can copy what I have here. So right now this will be red because we don't have any reference images. This will be the actual JSON we would grab from the input. We just don't have that yet. I'm skipping ahead and just typing up this exact JSON as it is right there. It'll pop up undefined, and that is fine for what we want in this switch node. I'm gonna close down this expression window. Now we're gonna say, is the reference images field, drop down this operator. We're gonna change it to array does not exist. Right now, it does not exist because we don't have it coming through. So we'll rename this output, name it prompts. This is our text prompts workflow. We can copy and paste this routing rule down here. Click on add routing rule. I'll copy this JSON, paste it into value number 1, set this operator, drop this down, say array exists, meaning if we have reference images, if reference images exists, we'll come down this route. And this is our reference image route. We can toggle on rename output and name it reference images. Click test step, and we'll get that coming through our first route. Since we don't have any reference images, let's just click outside of the node and see what's going on here. We've got the green line up here in our prompts. We've got one item, one bundle of data. Everything is coming through our prompts route and not our reference images route. I'm gonna slide down, click the plus on our prompts route to create the next node. This will be an edit fields node. You could type in edit fields or set in the search bar to find the edit fields node. And now we're just going to map in all of the relevant data we need to continue on. This is a cleanup field, just cleaning up our data inside of the chain itself so we can get the relevant data to move down the automation chain. So in our input schema over here, let's scroll down. You can follow along with me. We need our prompt writer assistant instructions. Drop that in here. You can rename this name to simply prompt writer assistant instructions. We need our prompt from prompt presets. Let's drag this into the next box here. We can simply name this prompt from prompt presets. I'm just cleaning up all of this array and object information and simply naming it over here. Next, we have our prohibited language list. This is an array. I can tell just by this little icon right here, and it has a list of items inside of it. I'm going to collapse this array just so we can see more of our schema here. The next one I'm going to add in is the system instructions from system right here. Click and drag that into the third box down here. We'll name this system instructions from system. Again, just cleaning up all the extra symbols and punctuation. Then I'll grab that actual array, the entire array here, the entire list. So not each individual item, but the entire array. Drag that into the fourth box. You'll see it come in as an array, and we can leave it named like that. I'm gonna scroll down. Let's find system instructions from JSON bot. Drop that into the box down here. Clean up the name just like that. Now we're gonna need one other input field. We actually don't have that information coming through. I'm gonna jump back over to Airtable and show you what I mean. We need an actual text prompt in here. So we need to type in a text prompt. I'll type in something in this field. Test text prompt. This is a prompt. Okay. Let's rerun this entire automation by unchecking the start button. Let's jump back into n8n. Going to click outside of this node, come down to test workflow. Our webhook is now waiting for our trigger. Let's jump back into Airtable. Let's trigger the automation right here. Jump back into n8n, and we'll watch everything run down. I'll zoom out just a little bit. There we go. Everything has come across. Let's double click the edit fields node to get back into it. And we can add our final field down here. I'm going to scroll down to this empty field. We've got everything coming through. The last field we need is that image prompt in the input. I'll scroll down, collapse the prohibited language list, scroll down, and there is our input text prompt here. That's my actual prompt. This is a text prompt. This is a prompt. Cool. I'm going to click and drag that into the last box, and we can leave it named that right there. To get that coming through into our output, let's hit test step. Now we've got our relevant data, prompt writer instructions, the prompt preset, system instructions, prohibited language list, JSON bot instructions, and our text prompt input. I'm going to click outside of the node. Let's click the plus to create the next node. Type in OpenAI. You can use any LLM you want. I'm using OpenAI. We're going to find the node to message a model. Choose that. Same thing here. You're going to have to set up your OpenAI credential. I have the tutorials on setting up your credentials with OpenAI. You can check that out. If you wanted to join the Skool community and check it out in the classroom, it's in the classroom section here in supplementary tutorials. You can find the tutorial. It is this one right here, number 13, connecting OpenAI in n8n, and you can watch that tutorial there. Once you have your credentials set up, we can choose a model from this list. The cheapest and most effective model for this kind of action is the GPT-4o Mini. And now this is where we can add our prompt for ChatGPT. So we're going to add in some of the schema from our input. For the first part, I'm going to click into the prompt field, change it to an expression field, click the expand button to just open up the window. We can see it a little bit better. It's going to crunch everything over here. So I'll just click and drag and expand our input view over here. What we need is the prompt from prompt presets. I'm going to drag this in first. Then I'm going to create a line break. Just hit enter on the keyboard to drop down to the next line. Collapse the prohibited language list. Find our text prompt input here. Drop that down right there. Now the way that I engineer these prompts, I like to put the user inputs in quotes so you can see our actual input. We have the preset text over here and the actual prompt we typed into Airtable over here, just so that this assistant can know which text we're actually trying to work with and which are commands we're actually trying to work with. I like to put text inside of quotes. So I'm going to put some quotation marks around this schema. That way we have the actual text inside of quotes. Okay, once everything is inside of quotes, I'm going to add a line break. Just hit enter on the keyboard, add another one. So we're dropping down some lines here, and you can copy and paste this prompt here. Pretty simple. Read the inputs in quotes above and craft an image prompt based on the instructions below. You are an expert at reading instructions and creating JSON objects. So you can take a screenshot of that and have ChatGPT write out this for you, or you can pause the video and type this out. I'm going to click outside of this expression window and click add a message to create a new message. This is going to create an interaction with an assistant prompt. So we're going to change this role to the assistant role. And for this prompt, this will be our prompt writer instructions. I'll change this to an expression field, expand the field, and drop in our prompt writer instructions right here. And you can see the entire prompt for our assistant pop in there like that. Something ChatGPT needs. I'm just going to drop this down one line and type in create a JSON. That lets ChatGPT know we're actually outputting a JSON object. I'm going to close down this expression window, click on add a message. Now we're going to add the system prompts. So we'll change the role to the system, change the prompt field to an expression field, expand the field. We can see it blown up. I'll drag this over, get a better view. Let's collapse the prohibited language list, and we'll get the system instructions from JSON bot, drop that down. Let's add a line break. Let's get the system instructions from system, drop that down, add a line break, and we'll get our entire prohibited language list. Now, if you read this entire system prompt, we'll have the JSON bot instructions prompt reading as follows. Then right here begins our prompt for the system instructions. And then we can scroll down and see, do not use the words and phrases in this list. And here is the entire list of prohibited language. So now you can see, putting it all together, how this prompt was crafted and constructed, all using those linked records in Airtable, keeping things organized. This is the entire system prompt for ChatGPT. I'm going to click outside of that expression field. We need to add a couple more things, namely this toggle on right here. We want to output as JSON. Click test step. Now the combination of user prompt, assistant prompt, and system instructions will now craft us 5 beautiful AI image generation text prompts we could technically grab right here, copy and paste into an image generation tool and get some beautiful images. Pretty cool stuff. I'm going to click outside of this node. Let's move on to the next node. I'll click the plus to create the next node. In the search bar, type in split. This will find the split out node. Now we want to split out each of these prompts so that we can run individual operations for each one. So I'm going to grab the prompts array, drag that in here, click test step. I click outside of the node. Let's click the plus to create the next node. You can see we've got 5 items now coming through. Type in Airtable, find the Airtable node. We want to create a record. Use your same credential, choose your base from this dropdown, and for your table, drop this down. We want to create a new record in the generation table. Find the generation table, and you can see all of the values coming in from Airtable for the generation table. So we'll set generation actions right away. Just set generation actions to choose action. We don't need image, we can trash this. We don't need video clips, trash that. And video project, we're going to link up a different way. So we just need these 2 fields. For AI image prompt, we can drop in the message content prompts from the split out node. Drop that down right there and test the step. Now we've got our 5 image prompts popping up in Airtable. Let's take a look. Jump back over to Airtable. We'll come into the generation table and you can see our 5 records. This was the blank one we started with, our first test video project up here. These are our 5 new records with our actual AI image prompt coming through. So if I click into one of these fields, I can expand it out. I can see the actual image prompt coming from n8n. All of our generation actions were set to default and we are ready to choose an action to generate image or generate video. Image is next. However, we first need to set up an Airtable automation to link these records back to our project. The way that we have to do that right now is come into our video project linked record field, click into here and manually link our project for every single record. Let's set up the automation to do this automatically. So I'm going to delete out those here. I'm going to go ahead and delete the first test record we started with building out this table. We'll just click the little square checkbox, right click on the record and say delete record. Now these are the 5 new records generated in n8n and they're related to our video project called first test. Let's get these linked up. So we're going to come into Airtable automations tab up here. Let's come down here to create a new automation. Let's name this one add generated records to project. You can name it whatever you want, just something to keep track of what's actually happening here. We are adding our new records in the generation tab to our video project. So click the plus here to add the first trigger. This will be when record created. When a record is created, let's choose the table. In the generation table, we'll run this automation. So every time a new record is generated, we're going to immediately run this automation and get things linked up. Click on add action. We want to find record, choose that action. And we're looking for our video project to link up. So we're going to look in the video project table. We want to find a record in the video project table where choose a condition, add the condition where start is checked. Set the maximum record limit to 1 record. We only want 1 to come back. Click on add action. We want to update a record. Select the table. This will be the generation table. Choose the record ID. Click the plus right here. We'll find Airtable record ID. Let's choose a field and we'll find the video project field. Again, this is in our generation table. So the video project field in our new generated records. Click the plus. We want to search our find records action, scroll down, find field values, click on that and scroll down to record ID. This is a pretty complex manipulation of our linked records in the data. Let's go ahead and toggle on this automation and we'll scroll down here, click run as configured and run test. Click run tests and we'll see our 5 records pop in here. You can select one and everything gets modified. Let's go check the data. Click on the data tab and we can see that automation has linked up our first test video project to that record we selected in that test. Now, every time a record is created in this generation table, it will automatically link to whatever video project we started. Okay, don't have to know how all that complexity works. If you're following along, this will work great. But for now, we can manually link the rest of our records in the generation table to our first test video project. So I'm just going to click into this first box and drag down this little toggle handle. Just like a spreadsheet, we can input all of that data there. Great, so everything is linked up. What I like to do to keep things organized is click the group button. We're gonna group everything by video project. And now everything will be organized by project. We can collapse and hide different projects if we've got multiple projects going on. All of those scenes, all of those generated records will be contained in those folders here. Now we're gonna clean up this generation view, make it look nice and pretty. We'll add a new view in here just like we did to the video project table just to get the relevant working data that we want to see and hide all of the other fields needed for the automation that we don't want to see. But before we do that, and before I forget, let's jump back into n8n. Let's click outside of this node. We're going to add a cleanup operation here for Airtable. Click the plus, type in Airtable, find the Airtable node. We want to update a record. Choose that, set up your same credential. Choose your base. For the table, we want the video project table. All we need, just trash everything. The only thing we want to update is the start button, and I want to toggle it off. So after this chain runs, we'll uncheck the start button. For the ID, let's scroll down. We need to find the other ID. This is our create a record Airtable node. We're going to scroll down to our other Airtable node. I'll collapse the prohibited language list here and find this Airtable node with our project information and get that record ID right there. Since this is a cleanup step, we need to come into the settings, toggle on execute once, and test step. That will send that over. We can jump back into Airtable, come into video project, and see the start button has been unchecked. Now, in between these two nodes, we just want to give that Airtable automation some time to run through. So I'm going to add a timer in here. Click the plus right in between these two nodes, type in wait, find the wait node, and we can just wait maybe 10 seconds for that Airtable automation to link all of those generated records in the generation table into our video project. That takes just a couple seconds, so we'll make sure that gets finished before we toggle off that checkbox. Okay, I'll just rearrange these nodes. There we go. Let's come up, save the workflow. Congratulations, this first automation route is finished. We now have a workflow that can generate text prompts, load those into our generation table as separate scenes, and now we can link up the actions to start generating images and video clips. Let's go ahead and clean up our generation table. We'll get this view looking a lot better. So I'm going to duplicate this all data view. I'll right click on it, say duplicate view. I'll click the 6 little dots and just drag it up above the all data view and rename it generations or something like that. You can name it whatever you want. Now you can follow along with me to hide fields we don't need to see, just for the automation and not necessarily for our workflow. So in the generation table, we don't need to see the created time, last modified time, video project, with height, aspect ratio, or record ID. Now this looks much nicer, much more usable as a tool, just the relevant data we need. The other thing I like to do is expand the record height. I'm gonna come up to this button, say medium or tall. Then I'll just rearrange the size of these fields, expand them out how I want, something like that. So now we can see the preview of our AI image prompt a lot better. Can double click into this cell and expand out the cell to see the entire image prompt. Now again, we've got our image preset coming in nicely, and this was built on our prompt from the video project table. When you add in more direction in here and you choose a prompt writer that's more specific than the generic theme prompt writer we're testing with, you can craft each of these prompts to be exactly what you want for your niche. As it is, you can come in here, you can edit the text, you can change this prompt however you want manually before you choose to generate any images. All right, I'm going to tab back over to the video project table, and now we can add in the next chain for our reference images workflow. So let's jump back over to n8n and we can build out this chain right here. I'm going to click this plus to create a new node. Type in set or edit fields. We want the edit fields node, and we'll get this set up. Let's actually go back and run some new data in a new project. So I'm going to save the workflow, jump back over to Airtable. Let's create a new test project here. So I'm going to click the plus to create a new project. Let's name this reference image test. You can name it whatever you want. And we need to drop in some reference images here. We can set the photograph style, choose that. Or if you want to go ahead and create some new prompt presets, you can come into the prompt preset tab and prompt a new style right here. You can get creative with that. So let's find some reference images. The way that I like to create content, especially if I'm trying to monetize different niches or just follow a content formula that works and not get too creative, I'm going to come over to the Creator Secrets school group. This is actually my brother's school group. So he does all the content creation stuff, showing you how to create AI generated content for all of these niches and actually monetize your content the right way. So I like to come here and just find content examples if I'm trying to build anything out. Definitely cuts down the headache of coming up with my own content if I'm just trying to find a formula, right? You can obviously get as creative as you want, but if you want to follow a formula for monetization, this is how it is done. So I'm going to just pick a niche here. I like the Vikings niche. I've used this one before to generate some Viking videos. So I'll click on this one. And in each of these course modules, you can obviously see ways to monetize this particular niche, but I'm going to jump into the examples. It's got example accounts that actually create this type of content. So you can see what works and just follow these formulas, right? So this is this account for the Viking niche. It's got 377,000 followers. I'm just going to switch over to the Reels here and find one that has a decent amount of views, probably this one or this one here. I'll just pick one that looks cool, maybe this one, and take some screenshots of these scenes. Take that one. This one's pretty cool. Let's go with this one and this one. Great, so that's fine. This one actually has 1 million views on it. Let's check it out. Maybe grab this one. Extremely simple video. It has over 1 million views on it. Cool, so that's fine for some reference images that actually work. I know these reference images work. I can see how they work right here. So let's use these images as references. I want to jump back over to Airtable and just drop those images right into this field right here. There we go. Those are loading up. Now we can actually trigger the automation and run some data down with these reference images. And by the way, if you want to check out my brother's school community creator secrets, I'll put the link in the description of this video. You can check out what he's got for content creation, and he'll teach you how to monetize and actually make money with your content. So we've got these 5 images here. I'm going to jump into n8n, test the workflow. Let's jump back into Airtable and click start on this record. Let's jump into n8n. We can watch this one run down the chains, and we'll run into this chain here since we have those reference images just like that. Let's double click into this edit fields node, and we can set up our field here. Now this is going to be a little bit different. Click into the add fields box, and we can add in the values here. For the value, click into that field, change it to expression, expand out that field, and you can copy what I have here. So this will take all the reference images and put them together. So we're just showing our URLs for our reference images in an array. So you'll have to copy this expression just like this. You can pause the video, type it out, or take a screenshot of this expression, pop it into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT write it out for you. I'm going to close down this expression window, and let's name this array images. Then we'll set the type here to array. Click test step. Now we can see an images array with each of our reference image URLs. I'm going to click outside of this node, click the plus to create a new node, type in split. This will be the split out node, and we can drag in the images array from the edit fields node. Click on test step. Now each of our URLs are split. We can see in the table view, we have 5 different operations for each of our URLs. I'm going to click outside of this node, click the plus to create a new node. This will be OpenAI. We want to analyze image. Choose your same credentials for OpenAI. You can check out my tutorial if you don't know how to do that. The model, we want the cheapest and easiest model. This will be ChatGPT 4 Mini. And for the text prompt, I'm going to jump into my school community. I'll come into the vault, and we want this one, image analyzer prompt for image generations. We've got this prompt just like this. So I'm going to copy this prompt, come back into n8n, switch this field to an expression, expand the expression, and paste in that prompt just like that. So you can go ahead, copy this prompt, take a screenshot of it, throw it in ChatGPT. Once you have that, I'll close out this expression window, and in the URL field here, we can add our images from the split out node. Let's click test step. This will actually write a new text prompt based on each of those reference photos. There we go, a brand new text prompt based on each of those reference images. Let's click outside of the node. I'm going to slide this down. Now it's going to be the same process as this route up here. So I'm going to select these 3 nodes, click and drag a box around those 3, copy them, paste them, and drop them down right here. I'm going to grab this toggle handle for this route and plug it into the back of this Airtable node. Double click into this Airtable node, clean up the connections here. So everything can stay the same. I'm going to delete out the AI image prompt and add in the content from the OpenAI node and click on test step. AI prompt loaded up in Airtable. You can jump over there, check that out. I'm going to click outside of this node and run this wait node. Just click the little play button. That is how we can test this step. That'll wait 10 seconds. That was our setting there. So after 10 seconds, we can jump in here, double click into this Airtable node. This one should stay exactly the same. We want to toggle off the start button in this project. So we can hit test step and that'll toggle off that start button. I'm going to click outside the node, save the workflow. Let's jump over to Airtable and see what we got going on. There is that start button just disappearing. We caught it just to watch that start button untoggle. Let's jump into the generation table and we have the records from our first test project. We can collapse this project and we can see our ref image test project here. Those AI image prompts popped in there nicely, but I just realized we forgot to incorporate part of our image prompt for each of these. So everything is working. We can just input some new data and rerun this. I'm going to jump back into n8n, come into our OpenAI analyze image node. And for our prompt here, we can add a specific line to this prompt. So I'm going to expand out this prompt and say each text prompt should start with, I'm going to drag this over just so we can see it a little bit better and slide down to our Airtable node all the way down in the schema, find our Airtable node, and I want to grab the prompt preset. We can throw this in here for our prompt preset. That way we'll craft those stylized prompts into each of the rewritten text prompts. So I'm going to throw this in here, drag and drop the prompt preset just like that. So you can say something like this. I'll put quotation marks around this and weave the rest of the prompt into this first sentence. Probably not the most elegant line right here, but I'm sure it'll work just fine. Let's go test it out. I'm going to close down this expression window, click on test step, and just like that, we've got our image style woven into each of these prompts. So again, you can load up your prompt preset table in Airtable with all kinds of stylization presets that you like. This particular one we're testing with is the photorealistic style. I'm going to click outside of this node. Now, just to reset everything here, I want to run everything down these chains. I'm going to come back into Airtable for our ref image test project here. I'll select these 5 generation records and delete them. Come back into n8n and just click the play button on each of these nodes to test each node and run the data down. Okay, so the next time we run this, we'll get those prompts to be written a little bit better and generated into Airtable. Great, so that is it for this entire automation chain. Congratulations, you have completed one route of our automation from the switch node. We've got 3 more routes to go, generating images, generating AI video clips, and finally compiling everything and generating a finished video with music and all the scenes put together. All right, so we are finished with the text prompt generation chains. We're gonna move down and create a new chain off of the switch node here. I'm gonna double click into the switch node just to check out what we got going on. And we're going to click on add routing rule. For value 1, we can copy this exact JSON right here. We're going to be checking the action variable coming from the webhook. And for the value, we can type in a value here. This will be a variable we set, just like generate prompts. We can say generate image. And remember, this is a variable. It has to be spelled correctly in all places that we're using it. I'm going to toggle on rename output and name it generate image. I'm going to copy this variable so we can paste it into Airtable. So let's jump over to Airtable. I'm going to come into the automations and let's duplicate our generate prompts automation. I'll hover over the 3 little dots here, click on that, click duplicate. I'll grab these 6 little dots so I can drag this automation down just for organization. Let's double click on this to rename it, generate image n8n. We can toggle on the automation. We can come into the first action, the trigger action, and we'll change up how this automation is triggered. I'm going to come into the table. Let's select the generation table. We can delete out this condition from the previous automation. Click on add condition when generation actions is set to generate image. That means we've selected that action and actually want to generate an image. Now we can add some more logic in here just for creating a sort of elegant code. So I'm going to click on add condition and say when image, drop this down here, is empty. That means we don't have any images. We can generate an image. This will prevent duplicate images or generating over and overwriting images you already have generated. Click update to save the automation. You can come into the run a script action and we'll change out this action right here and paste in the variable we created in n8n. Click update to save the automation. I'm gonna jump into the data and we can test one of these generation actions. So jump back into n8n, click outside of the node. I'll go ahead and save the workflow. Click on test workflow. The webhook will wait for a trigger. Let's come into Airtable and here we can select generate actions. Let's choose generate image, jump into n8n. We can watch this one run through. There it goes. And now we've got that coming through the generate image chain. Let's click the plus to create a new node. Search for Airtable. Find the Airtable node. We want to get a record. Choose your same credential. Choose your base. The table is going to be the generation table and the record ID we'll get from either the switch node or the webhook. So I'm going to come down and get the record ID from the webhook, click test step, and we've got our record from Airtable. Click outside of the node, click the plus to create a new node. This will be an HTTP node. Type in HTTP, find this node here. This node we're going to use to make a request to fal.ai. So I'm going to jump over there. You can search fal.ai to bring you here. You can log in or sign up for a free account. I'm going to log into my account, sign in with GitHub, and now we can use all of the endpoints, all of the AI models available. We can come down here and see all of the categories to choose from. These are all the models we have available in fal.ai. So there's video generation models, music generation, image generation, all of these models right here to choose from and generate programmatically using the same API key for all of these models. If you don't know about APIs and setting up different models, don't have to know any of that stuff. We're going to set this one up step by step. But in the future, if you want to experiment with different models, it's very easy to swap out different models to run different types of generation. You can see we've got VO2, Kling. So what we need to do here first is come into billing. You can create a free account, but you'll need to throw some credits into your account to actually start generating. Next, you'll come into the API keys section. We're going to create a new API key. Click on add key. You can name your key whatever you want and click on create key. Now you're going to want to write this down. Keep it safe. It'll only be shown to you once. Copy your key. Let's jump back into n8n. And now you can follow along with me to set all this stuff up. But the first thing we're going to do with our API key is toggle on headers. For the name, type in authorization. For the value, type in capital key space and paste your API key right there. I'll expand this out so you can see it. Key space and paste your API key. All right, let's set up the rest of this node. Come back up to the method, drop this down, choose post. For the URL, you can copy what I have here. We're going to be using Flux Pro Ultra to do our image generation to set up the scenes for our videos. Let's scroll down, toggle on send body. For body content type, drop this down, choose raw. For content type, type in application JSON. For body, I'm going to grab this again from the school community. In the vault, we can jump into the HTTP nodes and modules section and find the HTTP node for setting up Flux with fal.ai. So I'm getting all this information for this HTTP node from here. You can check this out in the school community, but I'm going to set this up for you. I'll copy this body right here, jump back into n8n. Now I want to make sure you can see this. I'll expand this out and you can paste this right here. Go ahead, copy that. You can take a screenshot, have ChatGPT write this out for you. Now these are all the parameters for this HTTP node. I'm going to close down this expression window. All of this stuff we can find in fal. I'll come to my home screen and you can see all the models I'm running. I just found that information looking up the API docs for the particular model, in case you're wondering where I'm getting all this crazy info. All right, so this will actually call to fal. If we test step here, we're actually going to generate an image in fal.ai. So I'm going to rename this Flux Ultra, rename, and test the step. There we go. We've got everything running through fal. Now, Flux will take a minute to generate that image, or a few seconds roughly. So let's continue on down the chain. I'm gonna click the plus to create a new node. Type in wait. We'll find the wait node. We need to wait for our image to be generated when this runs. Let's wait 45 seconds for that image generation. That's being generous. Usually takes around 15-20 seconds, but we can just keep it simple and wait a little extra time for our images to come through. Click outside the node. Let's click the plus to create the next node. This will be HTTP. We'll find the HTTP node. And with this one, we're actually going to download that image from file. So the method will be get. The URL will be from the response from file. Click on execute previous nodes. This will run the wait node. We'll wait 45 seconds and get the information from that first HTTP node coming through. There we go. After 45 seconds, we've got everything. So we're going to grab the response URL from the Flux Ultra HTTP node, drag that into the URL, toggle on send headers, and we can copy and paste from the previous HTTP node. I'm going to click outside the node, come into our first HTTP node, copy authorization, paste that in the name, come back, just hopping back and forth. Now I'm going to copy the value here. This is your API key. Click outside the node, come back into our new node and paste that right there. So just grabbing the headers from the previous node. Click test step to get that image from file. There we go, coming through. We've got the image URL. I'm gonna click outside of the node and actually let's rename this. Right click on it, say rename, download image, click rename. Let's click the plus to create a new node, and we can drop these images into Airtable, but we need to put a cleanup step here first. Type in set or edit fields. We want the edit fields node. Grab the URL, drop this in here. Rename this node clean image array. Click rename. That'll name our edit fields node. Click on test step. Let's actually get the record ID. I'm gonna scroll down to the Airtable node and find the record ID here. Drag this into a new input field. We can leave it named ID. Click test step. And now we've got our image array and our record ID coming through nice and neat. I'll click outside the node. Let's click the plus to create a new node. Search for the Airtable node. We want to update a record. Choose your credential, choose your base. The table is the generation table. Let's trash some of these fields we don't need to update. Let's leave an ID, generation actions, image. We can trash video clips and video project. Now we can drag in our ID from the edit fields node. For generation actions, we can set it to choose action back to default. And for the image, Airtable requires an array. We have to grab this entire images array, drop that in there like that, and click on test step. Great. We can jump over to Airtable, see what we get from FAL, catching the automation loading this one up in here. So here is my brand new image from Flux. Pretty awesome. Definitely follows this prompt very well. Turquoise ocean below, dramatic icy cliffs. Again, you can come in here and change any of the text you want to get those images generating the way that you want. So we're going to keep on testing with this image here. But if you want to go ahead and generate some other images, you can do so. While we're here in Airtable, I'm going to jump over to automations. Let's go ahead and set up our video generation automation. I can duplicate, generate image automation here. Hover over the three little dots, click on duplicate. Let's rename this generate video n8n. We can toggle it on. Let's change the trigger conditions when generation actions is equal to generate video and image is not empty. That means we have an image to actually create our image to video generation from. Click update to save the changes. Come into the run a script action, and we're going to set the generation action here to generate video. Same thing, this is a variable. Make sure you get the spelling capitalization correct. I'm just going to copy that variable, click update to save the changes, come back into the data. Let's jump back into n8n and we can run down a new chain from the switch node. I'm going to double click into the switch node, scroll down, click on add routing rule, and right away we paste that variable into value 2 here, generate video. We can copy this JSON right here for value 1. We want to check if the action from the webhook is equal to generate video, same as above for the image and the text prompts. Toggle on rename output, name this generate video. I'll click outside of the node. So let's go ahead and test the workflow, get that data running down our generate video chain. I'm going to click on test workflow. The webhook will wait for our trigger. Let's jump back into Airtable. And for the same record here, I'm going to select generate video for the generation actions. Let's jump into n8n. You can watch this one run through to the generate video chain. I'm going to grab this plus button. Instead of just clicking it, I'm going to grab it and drag it out so we can create a new route somewhere else. Drop it down right there. Let's search for the Airtable node. We want to get a record. Choose your credential, choose your base, choose your table. This will be the generation table again, and we can get the record ID from the switch node, or I'm going to come down and get it from the webhook. Click on test step, and we've got that information coming down our video chain. I'm going to right click on the canvas space, click on tidy up workflow just to automatically rearrange my nodes. And what we can actually do, we could have done the same thing for this Airtable node, but I just wanted to double check we are getting information down our video chain. What we can do is copy this entire image generation chain and switch the settings out for the video. So starting from here, from the Flux Ultra node, I'm just going to click and drag a box around all of our nodes from the video chain, copy them, paste them, and plop them down right there. I'll grab the route from the Airtable node and plug it in to the HTTP node. Now we can just swap out these settings and drop them into Airtable. Double click into this node here, going to rename it, come up to the top, click the pencil to rename, and we're going to name this Minimax or High-Law. In fal.ai, it's still the Minimax model, so we'll just name this Minimax. We can change the URL to the Minimax URL. I'm going to jump into the school community, but you can just copy and paste what I put into these fields. I'm going to jump over there, grab that info, hop into the Minimax HTTP node here. We've got the URL. Copy this, jump back into n8n, and I'll paste this right there. Everything here can stay the same, but we'll scroll down to the body. Let's swap out the body here. I'll expand this out so we can see it. Delete out this for Flux, and let's grab the body here for Minimax. If you want, you can just copy and paste from here. It might be easier to take a screenshot from here to get that URL. Go ahead and do so there. And for the body, go ahead, take a screenshot there, grab that body. We'll copy and paste this, jump back into n8n and paste it right there. And now we're going to have an undefined field here. We actually need to run some data down the Airtable chain. So we actually don't have our video prompt in Airtable yet. I'm going to click outside of the expression field. Before we click test step, I'm going to click outside of the node. Now, just to get that information into the Airtable node, I'm going to disconnect this route. Hover over the route, click the trash can to disconnect it. Then click on test workflow. That webhook will wait for our input. So let's jump over to Airtable and configure those video prompts in the generation table. Great. So we're actually missing that video prompt field. No problem. Let's go add it in. Let's jump into the all data view so we can see all the information in our generation table. This is just the fancy, nice working view. And you can see our record right here. We're ready to generate the video for this image. So we need our video prompts field in here. I'm going to insert this field in between these two. So I'm going to right click on generation actions, say insert right. This will be a link to another record. We want the prompt presets field. You can leave on allow linking to multiple records. We can have multiple video prompts. Click create field, and we've got our prompt presets field in the generations table. So I'm going to come back into the generations view. Let's show that new field. I'm going to come up to our hidden fields, find our new field we just created, prompt presets. There it is. I'm going to drag this over right before the generation actions. That way we know to set our video prompt presets before we try and generate the video. Come up here to rename this field, select video prompt. Now we didn't add any lookup fields when we created it in the all data view. Let's go ahead and do that now. I'll right click on the field name again, click on add lookup fields, choose the prompt so we can see it, and click add one field. Now we've got our prompt. I'll drag this over a little bit to expand that out, and we can now choose which video prompt from our prompt preset table we want to use for this video generation. So I'm going to click into this field, click the plus. We only have one preset set up in our prompt preset table. I'll choose that one for simple animation, and there's the prompt right there. Great. Now we can send this over to n8n. I'm going to jump back over there just to double check that webhook was waiting for our signal from us, but it timed out. So let's click on test workflow again. The webhook will wait for that trigger. Jump back over to Airtable, and we can re-trigger this. Just click into this field, hit delete or backspace on the keyboard, drop this down again, and say generate video. Let's jump back into n8n. So come down our video generation chain, and we've got that new information coming through. So let's reconnect this route to the back of our Minimax node. I'll double click into the Minimax node, scroll back down to the body. Let's find our JSON right here. I'll expand this out so we can see it, and I'll drag drag this over just so we can see everything better. So we've got our schema over here coming from Airtable. I'm just going to collapse the image array. Let's scroll down to find our new field, prompt from select video prompt. We can rename this field video prompt, and this will link up as it is, or we can relink it with how it's named right there. So that's actually an important note for this entire automation. Whatever you're naming your fields is how they're getting linked up in n8n. So if down the line you decide to, you know what, I'm going to rename this field just to make it look better, you're actually going to break that connection in n8n. It's very much like programming any kind of coding. Everything has to be linked up and remain named the same. Otherwise, you could break some of those connections. Just for the sake of the example, I'm going to go ahead and just name this, double click on it, simply video prompt, save the field name back into n8n, click outside of the expression field. I'll click outside of the node, disconnect this one more time. Just as an example here, I want to make this clear on these connections. So I'm going to test the workflow again. First, let's trash this run. Click on test workflow, run it through one more time. Let's jump into Airtable, delete out this value, reselect generate video, jump into n8n, watch that one come down, and plug the handle back into Minimax. Double click back into Minimax, scroll down, and that value has turned green. That was the field name video prompt. That's how I had originally named it when creating this body JSON right here. So you can see the importance of keeping your field names named. Name them once, don't change the names. That is just an important note I want to make at this point. So we don't have to change anything here. We went and did that in Airtable. So this is all linked up and working properly. If we hit the test step button, this is going to make a call to Minimax and actually generate that video. So be wary of your credits. Anytime you're doing video generation with any AI video generation tool, it can get pretty pricey pretty quick. Whether you're subscribing to Kling or Runway or any of those tools, they can get expensive pretty fast. So this is no different. This is a pay-as-you-go structure. So just keep in mind, you are going to be generating a video at this test step. Go ahead, click on it, and we've got that request going through to FAL. I'm going to click outside of the node. Now we can run down each node step by step. For the wait node, we just need to increase the wait time. We can run a complicated loop and check for the video being done and all of that stuff, but just adding a decent wait time is a lot less problematic than trying to loop through checking the status of a video or something like that. So for this wait node, I'll double click into it, and we're going to set a wait time of 300 seconds. That'll just make sure those videos have enough time to be generated before we try and grab them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit test step. That will wait that 300 seconds. So we'll come back after that has run. That will ensure our video is done. Now I'm still waiting for my wait node to finish, but we can go ahead and check FAL to see that video generation status and progress. I'm going to jump over to FAL, come into your home page, and we can find the Minimax model right here. Click on requests, and we can see the most recent video 3 minutes ago that is still in progress, still being generated. We can see this one I accidentally ran. This is why I make those notes about running your automation and being careful. Didn't mean to run this one and ended up using some credits for that generation. But this is the current one we are on, and we can see that one is still in progress. Back in n8n, my wait node is still spinning, so everything is running smooth. So while we're waiting, we can start setting up the download node here. I'll double click into it. Everything should be connected up already. We can rename this download video. Click rename. Let's click outside of the node. Looks like we are finished waiting. Just to double check, I'm going to hop back into FAL, and we can see that video has finished. This was the current one, so that is the new video right there. We can preview it here directly in FAL, which pretty amazing, subtle animation. Definitely my favorite video generation tool via the API. Great, so I'm going to jump back into n8n. Let's go ahead and test this step. You can click into it or click the little play button right here. All right, we got our video back. Let's slide head down to the edit fields node, double click into there, and we got to swap out these fields for the video. Now, something we have to do different here. The video comes through as an object, and Airtable expects an array just like it does for the image. So what we're going to do, let's just name this node clean video array, click rename, and click on the mode. We'll set it to JSON. Now we can create our own JSON structure over here to build this into an array. I'm going to get this JSON structure from the school community. You can copy it, paste it in here. So I'll just delete this out. I'll jump over to school, grab this one right here for creating the video array. So copy that. If you want to take a screenshot of this one right here, this is what we'll need. I'm going to jump back into n8n and paste that in the JSON right here. You can switch it to an expression field, click the expand button, and paste it right here. Great. So now we can insert a couple things. We have the video URL goes here, drop that down, and the table record ID goes here. So I'm going to scroll down, just drag this over so we can see a little bit better and find my Airtable record ID. Drop that right there to replace that section. And we've got that JSON coming through just like that. I'm going to close outside of this expression field and click test step. There we go. We forced that URL into an array. This is the way that Airtable accepts attachments. So we have to add that to an array right there. We have our ID nice and tidy. Let's click outside of this node. I'm going to click on this Airtable node. Let's finish this one off. And we've got the ID coming through. That looks good. We just need to replace this field. So I'm going to trash this image field, click on add column to send, choose video clips, and we can drag in the entire array from the clean video array node. Drop that down. Let's click on test step, and we've got our video into Airtable. Jump over to Airtable. Let's check it out. This automation will run. There it is, popping in there. Choose action, popping up here, and the video popping up here. We can take a look at it. Beautiful, perfect, subtle animation. We even have the camera moving ever so slightly. That is beautiful. Guys, congratulations. We're done with the generation chains. You can now generate your images from text prompts and your videos from images. That is amazing. We'll continue on running down the next chain in n8n in the next part of this video. So we're going to add another route to compile all of our scenes together and complete a finished video with background music. All right, we are moving on down. So we're going to create the last chain coming out of the switch node. Let's double click into the switch node, and we can scroll down to add a routing rule. Let's copy this JSON, paste it into value 1 and value 2. We can type in a new variable. This will be assemble video. Again, this is a variable. Toggle on, rename output. We'll name it assemble video. Let's click outside of the node and we can test the workflow. We have to go set up that Airtable automation to get the webhook coming through into this chain. So let's jump into Airtable, come into automations. Now we can duplicate this one, hover over the 3 dots, click on duplicate. Let's rename it assemble full video n8n. We can toggle on the automation, come into the trigger action. Now this one's going to be in the assembly table. We can drop this down, choose assembly table, delete out these broken conditions. Let's add a condition, drop this down. Let's find the assemble checkbox where assemble is checked. Click add a condition. When music is not empty, we can drop this down, choose is not empty, click add a condition, and finished video is empty. That way we're not accidentally overwriting our finished videos. And we can double check another condition where video clips from generation, drop this down here, is not empty, meaning we have our clips inside of that record. So this logic will make sure that when we click assemble, it will only run if all these other conditions are true. Click update to save the changes. Come into the run a script action. We'll change the variable here. Assemble video. Remember, this is the variable. You can copy and paste that from the n8n switch node. Click update to save the changes. Let's jump into the data. And now we can test out the assembly automation, but let's actually test this out fully. We're going to need a second clip in here to be able to assemble a 2-clip finished video. So I'm going to just generate another clip here. I can choose any of these scenes. I'll just pick maybe this one here. Looks good. I'll choose my video prompt preset. That'll get the video preset in there. And I'll set this to generate image. First, let's jump into n8n. Let's click outside of this node. Click click on test workflow, jump back into Airtable, drop this down, choose generate image, and we can jump back over to n8n to watch this one run down the image chain. There we go, finished off. That has dropped into Airtable. I'm gonna go ahead and trigger this test run one more time to generate the video. I'm gonna click on test workflow. Let's jump into Airtable, see what we got over here. That looks pretty good right away. Excellent. And I'll set the generation actions to generate video. That'll trigger the n8n chain to generate the video with Minimax. So that one's gonna take 300 seconds. We'll just wait for that video to generate. While that video is being generated, we can see what is going on in the assembly table. Let's jump over to the assembly table, and we've got all of our data in the all data view over here. So this is, again, all the information from the entire automation in the back end, right? We actually don't have our new video test in here. We're gonna have to go create a back-end automation to automatically create records. Every time a video project is created, a new assembly table record will get created. So let's jump over to the automations tab, click the plus to create a new automation. We'll call this new project. Click the plus to add a trigger when record created. Select the table, the video project table, click add action, click create record. When we create a new project, we want to create a new record entry in the assembly table. So let's choose the assembly table, choose a field, video project, click the blue plus, and choose Airtable record ID. Click the button to add an action. We want to find records. We can enter in a description here, get system instructions. We want to get instructions from the system automation table. We'll find records based on condition, add a condition where the record ID is, drop that down, and we can go grab a record ID. So we're going to search for the system instructions with this automation, jump into the data tab, and we'll come over to system automation, and we'll find the system instructions record ID right here. Let's jump into automations, paste that record ID right there. We can set the maximum record limit to 1. It could only ever be 1, but we can set that right there. Now we can duplicate this find actions record for JSON bot. Let's hover over the 3 dots, click duplicate action, and we can rename the description to get JSON bot instructions. Same table, same condition with the record ID. Let's delete out this one, jump into the data, find the JSON bot record ID right here, back into automations, and paste that right there. Now we're finding the system instructions and the JSON bot instructions. Click add action, update record. Let's update the video project table, the record ID. Click the blue plus. We can choose Airtable record ID. For the fields, we automatically want to add the system instructions and the JSON bot instructions to our brand new project. So we're going to find the system field, system, click the plus, and look in our find records system instructions. Scroll down, choose field values, and we'll get the record ID. Same thing for JSON bot. Click choose field, find JSON bot, click the blue plus. In the find record JSON bot instructions, scroll down, click on field values, and find the record ID. Great. I'm going to come back up here and rename this new project entry just to make sure we know what this automation is actually doing. I'll toggle on the automation, and let's go check our video generation. I'm going to jump back into the data, back into a generation table, and we've got our video back. Let's check it out. The water motion is incredible. Great. So before we jump into the assembly table, let's test what we just created in the automation tab. Let's jump over to the video project table. And now if I come into all data, we can see our ref image test record right here. I'll scroll down, is not automatically linked to the system instructions or the JSON bot instructions. We had to manually link our first test system instructions in here and our JSON bot instructions in here. We don't want to have to do that every single time we create a new record. So if we click the plus to create a new record, the automation we just built will automatically add the system instructions and the JSON bot instructions just like that. So you can click the plus again, test this out, create a new record, and watch those system instructions pop in there just like that. Now, what we also did was when a new record is created in the project table over here, it's going to create a new record in the assembly table and link everything up ready to go. So let's check the assembly table. And you can see those two unnamed projects I just created right here, linked up, ready to go. They do in fact not have a name. So those are the two new projects linked up and working correctly. I'm going to jump back into video project table, delete these two records, clean this up, jump into the assembly table, delete these two records to clean this up. And now we can manually, just for testing, link our reference image test project into the assembly table. So let's click in here, drop this down, link the reference image test project. And just like that, you can see our two video clips from the video project table linked up in here, ready to go. Let's go ahead and clean up this table to get the view looking nice, something more manageable for a workflow and not just containing all of the automation data. So I'm going to click the plus to create a new grid view, name this assembly, click and drag the 6 little dots to slide this up, and I'll hide the fields we don't need. You can follow along, click the hide fields button, toggle off width, height, aspect ratio, record ID. We do not need to see those in our working table here. So now something much more manageable. We have our video clips we can check out right here. I'm also going to expand the height of the rows to medium, just so we can see a better thumbnail of our video play button right here, and a better thumbnail of our music file when we drop that in there. We'll just rearrange the field names a little bit, condense everything, and now we can test out assembling this video. First, we need to drop some music in here. You can drag and drop any music file from your computer, drop it right into this field. I'm gonna go do that. Drop that right in there. That is the sample music I want. Probably doesn't fit the Viking theme, but any sample music to finish off building this automation will do for me. If you want to actually create a nice video, you can find some music that will fit your video. All right, we are ready to run this data down our n8n chain. I'm gonna jump back into n8n, click on test workflow. I'll wait for the trigger, come back into Airtable and click assemble. Let's jump back into n8n. Good. Watch this one come down the assembly chain here, right there. Just going to rearrange these nodes a little bit so we can add some space in here. Then I'll click and drag this route handle down here to create a new node. We're going to search for the Airtable node. We want to get a record, choose your credential, choose your base. For the table, this will be the assembly table, and the record ID will be from the webhook. You can grab it from the switch node or the webhook, drop that in there, click on test step. We get that record coming through. Click outside of the node. Let's click the plus to create a new node. So be HTTP. Now for this HTTP node, n8n doesn't have an Airtable node to download files from your Airtable base, but we can do that with this HTTP node. So I'm going to click up here, name this node, download files from Airtable, rename it. For the method, leave it as get. For the URL, you can copy what I have here. I'll change this to an expression, expand out the field, and paste this right here. So this is the video clips from the generation table right here, but we have to add this to get it to find just the URLs. Click outside of this expression field, come down under options, click add option, choose response. For response format, choose file and click test step. Now we've got our files downloaded from Airtable. Click outside of this node. Let's click the plus to create a new node, and we'll search for the code node. So we're going to use this code node as our settings for a tool called ShotStack. So I've been having luck with ShotStack, replacing JSON to video. ShotStack is what we're going to use for this automation. So in this code node, I'm going to delete out this default code. Don't have to know anything about coding. I was able to create this JSON payload for ShotStack just using ChatGPT and the ShotStack documents. So let's jump over to ShotStack. So you can create a free account with ShotStack. I'm going to log into my account. So once you're in ShotStack, you can create templates, something like you can do with Canva, render out videos, stuff like that. Just come up here to your account settings, click on subscription. I'm using the pay-as-you-go plan, so you can add in a number of credits here to get some credits into your account. Then come back up to your account settings, click on API keys, and you'll see your sandbox API key and your production API key. Now, you can use the sandbox API key for free. You have to have credits in your account to use it, but it will not use up any credits to create videos with this API key. My API keys here here are blurred out. I'm just going to use my Sandbox API key. That way I'm not using any credits to put these videos together. And I'll switch my environment down here to Sandbox. By the way, if you come into API Playground, this is how I found all the information for the code node that we're about to set up. Pretty simple working through it, but it's just difficult to find all this information and know exactly what you need to use. So I'm going to copy my Sandbox API key and jump back into n8n. We're in the code node. We'll come back to this code node. Let's go ahead and click outside of the node. Click on the plus to create the next node. This will be HTTP. We're going to make that call to ShotStack. Okay, for this node, let's go ahead and rename it. Send to ShotStack. For this node, I'm going to jump into the school community, grab this information. For the method, set it to post. For the URL, going to grab this URL for the HTTP node right here. You can go ahead, take a screenshot, copy this, jump back into n8n, paste that into the URL. We'll toggle on send headers. For the name, let's grab this right here, API key. You can copy that back in n8n, paste that for the name, and for the value, this will be your API key from ShotStack. So you can jump back into ShotStack, come into your API keys and copy your Sandbox API key for testing or your production API key for your final video. Paste API key right there. We'll toggle on send body. And for the body content type, we'll choose raw. Content type, application JSON. We'll copy that. Back in n8n, we'll set the body content type to raw. Content type, application JSON. For the body, we're going to get this right here, JSON. Paste that in there. I'm going to click outside of the node. Make sure you do have your API key in here. And we'll come into the code node. Let's right click on this to rename it. Let's name it create ShotStack payload. Click rename. Double click into the node. Right, I'm going to jump into school. Let's find the code node, create ShotStack payload. I'm just going to copy all of this, copy that back into n8n, paste that into the code node right there. Now, if you're following along from YouTube and you need this code, I've got a link to this document right here. I've got the link to this in the description of this video. I'm going to jump back into n8n. Let's click on test step. This will create the specific JSON structure for ShotStack. And now we can test this node to send that off to ShotStack to be rendered. I'll click the play button to test the workflow. And there we go. Everything is off to ShotStack. Great. Let's click the plus to create the next node. This will be an edit fields node. You can type in set or edit fields. And we just need to grab the ShotStack ID, the render ID right here. Let's rename this render ID. And we could rename this node get render ID. Click rename. Click test step. There we go. Click outside of the node. Click the plus to create a new node. Type in wait. This will be a wait node. And we're going to wait 60 seconds for this render to be finished. Now, we need to test the step just to get the data running down. So I'll go ahead and click on test step. This will run for 60 seconds. Let's click the plus to create the next node. This will be HTTP. Drop that node in there. And now we can get our render from ShotStack. Leave the method as get for the URL. I can paste in what I have here. I'll expand this out just like that. Now, if this is still gray for you, like it is for me, we can just delete this grayed out JSON, delete that, and add the render ID right here. Click outside of the expression field, click on send headers. For the name, we need to send the same headers as the send to ShotStack node here. So I'm going to double click in here and grab my same headers. Back into this node, paste those headers, your API key, the name of this header here, and your API key in the value. Paste that there and click on test step. Now, if you get this error right here, we made one small mistake in that URL, and it's this space after the word render. Just delete that space right there and test the step again. There we go. We've got everything coming from ShotStack. So we can name this HTTP node, right click on it, click rename. Get render status. Now we need to drop that final video into Airtable. So the method we're going to use to do that is this method right here. We need to create an array and drop it into Airtable. So I'm going to copy these two nodes, copy and paste, drop them down right here and plug this route handle into this edit fields node right here. I'll right click on this node to rename it. Clean final video array. Click on rename, double click into this node. and we'll just replace this red JSON. I'll expand this so we can see it. Slide this over so we can see it. For the video URL, let's delete out this red part and grab the response URL, drop that down in between the quotation marks. And for the ID, we can delete that red one out. Let's scroll down to get our Airtable record ID all the way back down to the beginning of this chain. Here it is, Airtable ID right there. Drop that down. Let's click outside of this expression field. Click on test step. We've got our video array created and the record ID. Let's fix up the last Airtable node. Check your credential, check your base, check your table. We need to change the table to the assembly table. Now we can clean up the fields we don't need to see. Video project, we can trash that. Music and assemble. We just need the ID and the finished video. Let's grab that from our clean final video edit fields node. We'll grab the videos array, that's what Airtable needs, and the record ID right there. Click on test step, and we've got that final video back in Airtable. I'm gonna jump into Airtable. There it is, guys, our finished product. We can take a look. Not the most ideal music, but we got those scenes switching. That looks pretty good for our test. Congratulations, guys. We have built out the niche video generator step by step. You got your finished video. The last thing I want to do is jump back into n8n. I'm going to right click on the canvas, click on tidy up workspace. That will just organize all the nodes automatically. Then I just like to rearrange stuff to make it look nicer. Click on save to save the workflow, and we can activate the workflow. Toggle this on and we are live. Click on got it. So to actually run the live version of this workflow, we need to swap out the test webhook for the production webhook. So I'm going to come into the webhook node, click on the production URL, and we're going to copy this one, swap it out in Airtable. Let's jump over to Airtable. Let's come into automations. And for each of these that run the run a script action, we're going to paste in the new webhook. So come into generate prompts, n8n, come into the run a script action and paste the production URL right here. Click update to save the changes. Come into the next automation, run a script action, paste the production URL. Click update. We'll come into each of these, into the run a script action and paste my production URL. Click update to save the changes, and we are live. Now you no longer need to click on test workflow in n8n to be able to run this workflow. It will run and trigger every time that webhook is triggered. I'll click on new video project, create a new project really quickly. Quick test. You can see everything popping up in here. I'm in the all data view. We'll slide down and make sure I'm getting all of the automations running, all of this stuff automatically popping up our system instructions. Come into my text prompts, workflow, choose my writer, style, type in a prompt for my generic theme writer and hit start. This will run the n8n workflow without having to click test. I'll jump into the generation table and we can watch our new scenes pop in here. There we go, coming through. And now they're getting connected to the quick project I just created. Here's all those prompts and I can continue on with generating this project. That is it, guys. Congratulations. Awesome job making it through this entire video. You are now free to generate new projects, get your videos finished, and start posting them to your social media now. If you like this video, want to support what I'm doing, I have the link to my school community in the description of this video. Click the link to join the community. Once you join the community, you'll have access to all of these automation templates, all of my n8n workflows, and all of my resources I've got over there. If you want to join the Creator Secrets school group so you can level up your content creation, I've got the link to the Creator Secrets group down below. Check that one out for learning how to monetize your AI content. I look forward to seeing you in my school group, and I'll see you in the next video.